What's up, everybody? This is Eric with SoCal Exotics. Today I'm going to be doing a POV review of this 991.2 Porsche GT3. We're going to be joined by this SLS. And yeah, this GT3's got a full R1 Motorsports headers and exhaust system. And I think these two German legends look absolutely stunning together, both naturally aspirated. I think the most iconic thing about the SLS are these gull wing doors. It's just the one thing that's really just true and unique to this car. But back to the GT3, this one's got a full roll cage on it. And I've driven this car quite a bit amount of times, so I'm excited to share the thoughts with you on what I think separates this car from the rest of the GT3s and what separates it from the rest of the supercars out there. So with that, we'll get back to my buddy's house. We'll get started with the review. Alright, that sounded pretty good, but I'm gonna get out as soon as I cold start this so you guys can hear from the outside. So Porsche started the GT3s in 1999. Okay, it was the first Metzger flat six engine that they originally were designed for the GT1 race car. They came out with a second generation 996 that was 380 horsepower, and then finally in 2006 they released the 997 GT3 that had about 415 horsepower, 3.6 liter engine, same as the 996, but then the second generation 997.2s had about 435 horsepower. They upped the liter to about 3.8. Now the last Metzger motor was in the 997 4.0, which was in 2011. That had about 500 horsepower. We're currently in the 2013 to 2019 991 chassis. Now this is the second generation, and the special thing about the second generation is that's when they brought back the manual option. Originally with the 991.1 generation, there was no manual option. Now after this generation, you have the current generation GT3, which is the 992 GT3. Those started in 2021, and they had the 6-speed manual gearbox or the 7-speed PDK paddle shift transmission. And don't get me wrong, PDK is an amazing quick transmission, but it's something about the manual transmission experience, going through gears, feeling the clutch, that just takes it to a whole new level. It gives you a whole nother sensation, a whole nother level of emotions to unlock when driving. And with this gearbox specifically, every time I drive a manual car, I can't help but think of this car. I love this gearbox. The throws in between shifts are very short. There's very little distance in between gear shifts. And then when you do ultimately end up putting the stick into place, every gear feels like it's being hugged into place. It's just so tight when you get into every gear. It's very refined and precise. This is absolutely my favorite gearbox from any car that I've ever driven. This thing just sounds insane. I love this engine. favorite sounding cars. I love naturally aspirated engines. That's why I love GT3s. As opposed to the Turbo S's. Turbo S's are great, and I just don't like the sound of them as much as I love GT3s. I love naturally aspirated cars more. They just sound so much better. There's no dampening from the turbos. Twin turbo cars usually just don't sound as loud and don't have that high pitch. And even though this is just a 6-cylinder car, this thing screams like some V10s and V12s. I love it. So we're approaching some back roads here. Perfect time for me to talk about how the car feels in the corners. When you're coming into a turn, the front just feels very light. It's got a lot of front end grip. It feels very razor sharp, and mid-turn when you're starting to get into the apex, it feels very planted and stable. The car is very well balanced because of the rear engine layout. Even when you're going high G on this thing, it really feels like it's tamed to the ground, like it wants more. You can definitely feel the rear wheel steering. It definitely has an effect on those sharper turns, and it really enhances the stability of the car. It extends the wheelbase. That's how it feels. When you talk about handling, this car is kind of the standard. Around for this price range, this car is almost $200,000 now. And for that price range, you can probably get a Ferrari 458, or a Lamborghini Huracan, or a McLaren 570. And I would say this just feels much more nimble, and it just feels way tighter. Don't get me wrong, 458s, Huracans, they're great handling cars. They're just not as nimble as these GT3s. We recently did a review on a Murcielago and an Audi R8. That was 2015, that last generation, and this blows the Murcielago out of the water as far as handling. And even the R8, that's an all-wheel drive, better handling car, it just doesn't feel as tame, as precise as this. And that's why I love GT3s. This thing deserves to be on a track. It feels like it would beat most supercars on a track, if not even some higher-end supercars like a Revuelto or an SVJ or a Huracan Performante. That's how it feels. It feels like it was born to be on a track. And with these, in this one specifically, it's got comfort seats. It's very comfortable and it's very usable for daily use. And if the manual is annoying, then you can get a PDK, and I think this would be the greatest daily of all time. If you have the money, why not? So right now you could probably get the brand new GT3, the 992s, for about $280 to $290 with a 6-speed transmission. And they're great cars. I haven't had the pleasure of driving one quite yet. Maybe we'll review one in the future. But the one thing I don't like about the 992s is the tachometer, the RPM gauge, is digital. And this is the last one where you have an analog, physical, real gauge. And that's kind of what I love about this car. There's a lot of creature comforts and computerization in this car, but it feels very analog. Like, you can even turn off the auto blip shifts. So on your downshifts, you can blip the throttle on your own, and that's what I've been doing. I like that you're able to turn it on if you want, but I love that you can turn it off so that if you want it to feel even more analog, you can. So I think this car is the perfect balance between analog and digital, and it feels very analog, but you still have the help of the rear wheel steering. You still get, the auto blips if you want it, and that's why this car is my favorite GT3 out of all the generations. So my final thoughts on the car before I get onto the freeway, I really want you guys to hear and feel what it sounds like driving this car. Let me just turn on the exhaust and tighten the suspension. So if you can, get yourself into a GT3, even just to drive it once. They're very special cars for the price point. They're a bang for the buck. They look amazing. They sound amazing. They have a very analog feel to them. And again, you can go on the track, beat it on the track, not worry about, maintenance or reliability being an issue. They're very bulletproof, all around, perfect cars. Aside from the Carrera GT and the 918, the GT3 is my favorite. Now enjoy the next couple minutes of me ripping the car. Please subscribe, comment below. We'll see you next time. Cheers. If you're still watching up to this point, I'm going to give you first through third right now as a reward. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're still watching to this point, we're going to be doing a lot more videos like this, more reviews in the future. And comment, like, show me some love down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.